At body-mind foundations are attachment systems with specific attachment needs. And at the foundation of the essence of the self are foundational self aspects, which might be described as childhood self aspects or parts of the inner child. And there's trillions of parts of the self simultaneously experiencing aspects of the human reality through the navigation and regulation of the body-mind. And so there's a lot of parts of the self, trillions of parts of the self that are presently perceiving. And then there's a lot of parts of the self, trillions of parts of the self that are at the foundation of body-mind structures, encountering energies beyond awareness. And there are trillions of parts of the self who are flowing through navigational and regulational intel that are bridging those worlds between the foundation and the present moment or presently perceiving parts. And so in every moment, there's a lot happening within our inner realities that we don't necessarily know about. And at the core of it all is the true essence of the self, which is pure, unconditional love. And at the foundation of it all are attachment needs of the body-mind. Because consciousness doesn't have attachment needs. Only brain-body structures have attachment needs. But consciousness is flowing through these brain-body structures. And so the parts of the self who are flowing through that information encounter the projections related with attachment needs. And so it's actually really interesting because we're providing a felt sense of attachment need fulfillment for parts of the self in the healing journey of loving liberation, but it's not actually the parts of the self that have these attachment needs. It's actually the brain-body structures and their navigational patterns that have these attachment needs. But because the parts of the self are encountering life through the navigation and regulation of the body-mind structures, we're providing a felt sense for those parts, but through the body-mind to shapeshift the navigation of the body-mind to assist those parts of the self. So it's like a really interesting cycle. And so we have trillions of self aspects flowing through these three subconscious layers: the presently perceiving parts, the foundational parts, and the bridging parts. Okay? And those can be described as the inner life partner, the inner best friend, and the inner child. And this references my expanded spirit diagram, or also called the three subconscious layers diagram for short reference. And so we understand that there are lots of different parts of ourselves in every moment, and lots of different attachment needs, and lots of different networks of information that have been sculpted through past experiences, but are trying to navigate now. And all of this stuff is happening in every nanosecond of life. There's a lot of incredible ways to connect with the inner child. There's a lot of amazing ways to nourish attachment needs. There are so many hundreds, if not thousands or millions of ways to work directly with these attachment needs in the body-mind and connect directly with and play with these aspects of the childhood self, or the foundational self, or the inner child. But the thing about attachment needs is they cannot be met by the same parts of the self that need them. So if there's parts of the self needing to feel seen and loved, those parts of the self cannot create that for themselves. But you also don't want to be dependent on an external source to see and love you in order to feel seen and loved. And so there actually needs to be different parts of the self that come in and help those parts of the self. And this is where social self-engagement practices come in. And there's an active, conscious, intentional ignition and sculpting of distinction and connection between parts of the self. And so when we maneuver everyday life, when we're navigating everyday moments, when we're in these everyday realities, when we're navigating everyday life, what would happen if we considered the possibility that there was a young child with us? And so if you're sitting down, what if you imagine that your inner toddler is sitting on your lap? What if when you walk from point A to point B, you imagine that your 9-year-old self is walking right next to you? What happens if you're working on a project or creating something and you imagine that your 12-year-old self is right there next to you, working on their own project and learning from the way that you're engaging in life? And you know, children, they don't pick up on just the explicits. Children pick up on the implicits. Children read into body language. Children read into eye contact. Children read into your spine posture and your physical posture, the way that you stand, the way that you energetically present yourself. Children read into your vocal tones. Children read into the way that you're responding to things and the way that you're choosing to invest your energy in things. Children notice these things and they learn from them and they pick up on them and they follow those cues to become that. Children follow those cues to become that. And so in every moment, we can recognize that there is the awareness of self connected with the presently perceiving self, the inner life partner, the present self in this present moment. Not the conceptualization of who you think you are, but the actual experiencer of self in this present moment. Distinction and connection. And then we can amplify distinction and connection by recognizing that the presently perceiving self is distinct from and connected with the foundational inner child self. And in this process, we can build some really radical bridges between parts of the self and build some really radical opportunities to resculpt brain-body structures. Because the brain-body structures, from brain hemispheric balance and integration and nervous system regulation to the way that trillions of networks are carrying unconscious memories with emotions and action movement patterns that are affecting every feeling, every thought, every sensation, every movement, every choice, every decision, every perspective, every response, every belief, everything. And instead of working with those structures and being like, okay, you know, what unconscious memories are affecting me right now, or okay, what's, you know, how is my brain hemispheric balance doing? We can go there, absolutely. But we can actually take a more powerful route and go straight to what affected all of that in the first place, which is social self-engagement, social engagement. Social engagement is what originally sculpted it, and now we can consciously practice social self-engagement to re-sculpt it. And instead of trying to change what exists, you just create a brand new foundation that positively affects everything else. And so when you move through everyday moments, what if you imagine that your inner toddler is sitting on your lap? What if you imagine that your 9-year-old self is walking with you and you're walking? What if you imagine that when you're working on a project, your 12-year-old self is sitting right next to you? And practice distinction and connection between parts of the self with an intention to create a felt sense of attachment, well-being, attachment need fulfillment. Being the awareness of self, helping the present moment self and the childhood self feel their attachment needs being met in the present moment, and thus reteaching the body-mind how to navigate and regulate existence while unifying all the parts of the self. And so I just invite you to explore this and play with it in the everyday healing journey of loving liberation. When you go through moments, just take a deep breath, ground and center yourself in loving presence, ground and center yourself in the distinction and connection between the awareness of self and the experiencer of self. Practice self-attunement to the best of your ability, and then see how you can create a felt sense of attachment needs fulfillment while growing attachments between the parts of the self. The awareness of self grows attached to the presently perceiving inner experiencer, while witnessing them grow attached to foundational childhood self aspects. And this is a really powerful practice, and it can be brought into literally any everyday moment. And there's so many different ways to explore and apply these concepts and these practices. And so I just invite you to play with this and explore it test drive it every day for 1 week, and then come back to this video and comment and respond with your experiences, to share the journey and invite others to share the journey as well, and inspire others to play with this idea and try to explore it for themselves as well. And so in this process, you might notice a deeper sense of connection with yourself. You might notice a deeper appreciation of the magic of everyday moments. You might have some emotional breakthroughs where you didn't realize how far away your inner child felt, or how pushed to the side the attachment needs of your present moment self might have seemed. Or you might notice there's a greater ability to stay grounded and present. Or you might notice that you're able to kind of shift your energy and not be as affected by outside things quite as much as you were before. Or you might notice yourself even connecting with different aspects of yourself in your life that you didn't expect. Maybe you connect with positive childhood memories in a way that you hadn't been able to, or maybe you heal some difficult memories that had kind of been in the background for a while. Maybe without directly looking at the experiences, but just by practicing distinction and connection between self aspects and connecting with the attachment needs of these parts of yourself. And in that process, allowing anything that's associated with that to come up and be healed in that process. You might notice that you enjoy everyday moments a little bit more because you're more connected with yourself in the present moment. There's a lot of really cool things that can happen. And so just imagine that there is the awareness of the self, and there is your present experiencer of self. And within the present experiencer of yourself, there is the immediate experiencer of self, but then there's also a foundational self aspect, and you can pick any age of your childhood self to connect with more specifically, or just have an abstract energy of foundational self or inner child or whatever resonates with you. And just like if you are spending time with children, you're mindful of the way that you're moving in moments. You're mindful of the influence that you're having on their impressionable minds. So keep that in mind, because your body mind is impressionable. Your body mind is susceptible to receiving information, even without being consciously aware of it. And when we can expand awareness of this, everything can change in some really beautiful ways. So I invite you to just play with this concept. There's, like I said, there's so many different ways you can practice it. Just kind of start with that basic skeletal structure I shared and make it your own and have fun with it. And if you want to dive deeper into these concepts and explore them more, this is one of the many amazing ideas, one of the many key cornerstones of my work, shared through my Implicit Revelations Case Study, and also through my Sacred Soul sessions, services I offer, personalized sessions, usually one-on-one, but we also do small groups in special occasions. And also my Loving Liberation Launchpads, content creations, and various courses that take these concepts and share them in a very fun, creative, enjoyable way. And you have just an incredible self-guided journey for many months or many years. And the effective and enjoyable transformation that you are able to create is unparalleled. And you get to go at your own pace and have fun and be light with it and really get to reap the rewards of your investment in some powerful ways. A few that specifically touch on this concept are Loving Liberation Soul Sessions, Inner Child Play for Loving Liberation Sacred Soul Sessions, and Mirror Play with Mirror Power Creative Connections course, and Self-Love Liberation Healing Internal Attachments mini course, and a marathon practice. Instead of investing a lot in like a longer program course, this is just like a $22 video that's like one marathon practice that you play with, instead of like, you know, like a bigger investment where you're doing this like complex course for many years. And so there's just lots of really amazing opportunities to dive deeper into these concepts if you want to go take that journey a step further. You can find out more in the video description below, and I would love to share and go further and dive deeper into these ideas and their application to serve the healing journey of loving liberation. And in the meantime, I just invite you to play with this idea and try it out. Just set an intention at the beginning of each day to play with this practice a few times throughout your day. Return to this practice and just consciously play with it. You know, maybe you're eating lunch and you imagine that you are the awareness of yourself having lunch with your present self, who is also there having lunch with your childhood self. And to create a deeper sense of connection from inside of you. And you can also practice this through an inward imagination journey, where instead of moving through the outside world and kind of having this energetic intention, you tune out the outside world, go inside, close your eyes, and you visualize the distinction and connection between these parts of yourself. And that is available through my Social Soul Self Inward Imagination Ignitions offering, which is a personalized session where I teach a new way to play with kind of a meditation self-hypnosis type concept, but it's a practice that I've been developing for 5 years. And there's things out there that might be parallel and similar in some ways, but this has really been my own thing that's been developing, and it's really powerful, and it's really fun, and it's really effective, and it's really enjoyable. And you practice distinction and connection between parts of yourself and create a felt sense of attachment, need, fulfillment. So a way of working with different parts of yourself and tap into your infinite imagination in the process. And in that process, it's a very specific technique that allows you to utilize abstract energetic associations to re-sculpt memory data in the navigational patterns of the body-mind without working with past experiences. And it's a way to practice distinction and connection between self aspects in 18 or more different ways that each have a unique application to rewire the brain-body systems in a specific way and unite with different parts of the self in very specific ways. And so it's really just blown up and expanded its powerful purpose and infinite potential in some really remarkable ways. You can find out more about this in every single one of my offerings. All of my services and creations have free introductory playbooks and beautifully sculpted semi-lengthy web pages so that you have lots of information up front to know which one is best for you. And you know exactly what you're investing in when you choose to harness this opportunity. So every single one of all the different offerings has lots of info up front to really support your path so that you can know which one is a perfect fit for you, which one resonates most with your heart, your soul, your being, and your present healing journey needs or loving liberation intentions. So again, that's Social Soul Self Inward Imagination Ignitions. That one's really fun and powerful. In the meantime, though, every morning, just set an intention to practice this throughout your day. Practice being the awareness of yourself, fulfilling attachment needs for your present moment self, and then witnessing that present moment self fulfill attachment needs for the childhood self. And everyday moments that, you know, were just everyday moments can suddenly become these really big moments of opportunity from inside of you. And they can shift a lot of things in unexpected ways without anything out there actually happening. It's all happening in here. It's a lot of power, a lot of potential, a lot of possibility. And with trillions of parts of the self flowing through trillions of body-mind networks, you never know what magic might happen. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. If you play with this practice and explore its possibility for a few days, maybe a week or so, I do invite you to come back to this video and just share about your experiences. Like, I played with it and this is what happened, or, you know, like, it was chill, it was cool, it was whatever, or I had the most amazing breakthrough, or, you know, maybe I play with the practice in this way, or, you know, I've explored inner child work, but this was kind of fun to do just something a little bit different, or, you know, whatever it might be. So thank you for being here, thank you for being you, thank you for sharing the journey, and I hope you have a beautiful and blessed day.